From the first dribble on a cracked New York sidewalk to the last echo of a prison door, Jim Carroll's voice is as urgent as a city siren. Beat. This is a diary that never whispers. It shouts, confesses, and dares you to look away. Street courts and Catholic school corridors. The story begins with Jim Carroll's early adolescence in 1960s Manhattan, where the scent of hot pretzel carts mingles with the squeak of sneakers on asphalt. Beat. Jim is 13, razor thin, and already a emphasis phenom on the basketball court. He plays for his Catholic school team by day and sweats through pickup games on West 66th Street by night, learning that a sweet jump shot earns instant respect in neighborhoods where everything else is negotiable. Beat. Carroll's diary entries tumble out in a rush, scores tallied, cigarettes bummed, and the intoxicating possibility that raw talent could be a ticket to a different life. In the locker room, priests preach morality while turning a blind eye to hallway gambling, and the smell of incense mixes with underarm deodorant. Beat. The rhythm of the city syncs with the rhythm of the game. Carroll studies newspaper box scores the way other kids study Latin, certain that a perfect arc from the free throw line will grant him immortality. Beat. Yet beneath the euphoria of swishing nets lies a growing restlessness. The streets teach a cruel calculus. Glory is fleeting, and a single bad quarter can tarnish a legend. Off the court, Jim and his teammates experiment with beer, weed, and stolen Benny pills, believing they're sampling only the outer rings of rebellion. Beat. His diary voice is hypnotic. Funny one moment, cynical the next, as he chronicles subway rides downtown to see abstract art, hustles older kids in stickball, and pores over Rambo's poetry between math problems. Beat. The contradictions build momentum. Altar boy and hustler, MVP and corner lookout, future scholar and imminent dropout. Each scribbled page feels like a layup taken at full sprint, balanced on the thin edge of control. Emphasis. Foreshadowing. Lingers. The harder Jim dribbles, the closer he comes to losing the ball. Descent into addiction. Carroll's first flirtation with heroin appears almost casual. A friend passes him a vial after practice, claiming it helps sore muscles. Beat. Jim is skeptical, but the promise of transcending pain and gravity proves seductive. One tentative sniff becomes a ritual, and then a mandate. Beat. The high serves up warmth, focus, and an illusion of invincibility on the court. Soon, however, the drug's glow stains everything, bleaching victory of its meaning and turning defeat into a bottomless pit. Beat. Diary entries splinter into staccato bursts. Morning shoot-arounds skipped because his veins ache, homework traded for hustles in Times Square bathrooms, sneakers pawned for a fix. Emphasis, dissonance, shapes each page. His Catholic League coach yells about discipline, yet Jim shows up dazed, eyes ringed with shadow, drilling three-pointers to mask withdrawal tremors. Beat. Teammates whisper. Teachers scrawl question marks beside empty desks, and his mother's face hardens with equal parts fear and denial. Carroll chronicles their reactions with brutal candor but little self-pity. The needle is both confession booth and escape hatch. Beat. The city itself morphs. Broadway marquees blur under dope-heavy eyelids, and subway tunnels echo like blood rushing through the skull. Carroll is arrested for the first time after snatching a woman's purse to fund a score. Beat. The police station is fluorescent hell, the holding cell a chorus of taunts. Yet even here he scribbles, describing the chipped paint on cinder block walls with the precision of a sports statistician. Beat. We witness the slow trade-off, athletic promise for chemical assurance, possibility for immediate numbness. By junior year, recruiters begin to drift away. Word travels faster than bus fare. Beat. In a harrowing entry, Jim writes that he dribbled in a playground tournament with a belt still tied around his arm because he forgot to remove it. The crowd roared, never noticing. Beat. Addiction becomes his new playbook. Each fix a timeout he cannot afford. Dreams, poetry, and self-reflection. Amid spiraling chaos, Carroll's diary reveals a mind thirsty for meaning beyond the next shot or the next bag of brown powder. Beat. He steals time in the New York Public Library, pores over Whitman, Ginsberg, and Dostoevsky, and copies lines into his notebook like a guard copying keys. Basketball may sculpt his body, but emphasis, language, sculpts his soul. Beat. He attends underground poetry readings, clutching a worn-out basketball under one arm and scribbled verses under the other. Listeners cheer his raw cadence, half hip-hop riff, half confessional rosary. Beat. Yet dreams and dope run parallel tracks. After a performance praised by an editor from the Village Voice, Jim celebrates by sharing a contaminated needle behind the club. Beat. His reflection in broken backstage mirrors reveals hollow cheeks, but his eyes still gleam at the applause ringing in his ears. The diary becomes meta, entries about writing entries, about reading earlier entries, about wondering who the future reader might be. Beat. He ponders fame and oblivion, sensing they could be the same hallway, just approached from opposite ends. Every so often, slivers of clarity pierce through. A sunrise over the Hudson, the nervous laughter of little kids chalking a hopscotch grid, a memory of his younger brother's admiration. Beat. Carroll's coaches once barked about percentages. Now he calculates odds of overdose, odds of redemption, odds that art can outjump destruction. Beat. In a fiercely tender entry, he describes reciting his poem, 8 Fragments for Kurt Cobain, to an empty school gym after hours, the acoustics turning each line into a ghostly echo. Although he hasn't yet met musicians who will later adapt his work, the seeds of his future status as a rock poet legend sprout here, watered by equal parts agony and ambition. Beat. The section closes on a diary page stained by rain and maybe tears, the ink blurring but refusing to vanish, symbolic of a voice still fighting to be heard even while its owner teeters on the rim of the abyss. Rock bottom and glimpses of redemption. Eventually, Carroll runs out of courts to crash and friends to borrow from. He is 15, turning 16, when he is arrested for breaking into a summer home on Long Island to steal television sets he will sell for heroin money. Beat. The judge, weary of his rap sheet, sentences him to a stint on Rikers Island. The diary entries from jail are stripped bare. Sentences fracture like a glass backboard. Beat. Inside, violence is currency. Carroll clings to basketball analogies. Every corridor is a fast break, every glance a pick and roll. He survives by offering poems to fellow inmates, trading lyrics for cigarettes, metaphors for mercy. Beat. Withdrawal wrings him like a soaked jersey. He vomits, shivers, sweats, prays. The institutional lights glare 24 hours, rendering sleep a myth. Yet amid the clang of steel doors, Carroll experiences moments of stark lucidity. Beat. He writes that the world shrinks to a single inhale, and in that inhale he finally feels the full weight of the lives he's pickpocketed, the coaches he's disappointed, the self he's nearly erased. Emphasis, awakening. Dawns not as a trumpet blast, but as a hoarse whisper in the night shift of his consciousness. Beat. After release, the streets welcome him back with both arms, one offering a needle, the other offering possibility. He chooses possibility, but the choice is fragile. Carroll enters a detox program, relapses, and enters again. Each attempt is recorded like a stat line: days clean, ounces consumed, pages written. Beat. Small victories add up. He plays a charity basketball game sober, shoots 18 points, and feels every bead of sweat as evidence of survival. He secures a part-time job at a bookstore, stocks shelves of poetry, while secretly sliding his own pages between anthologies to imagine his words alongside canonized names. Beat. In the final diary entries, Carroll never claims total recovery. Instead, he embraces the perpetual work of staying alive. The reader witnesses a young man turning the same obsessive focus once reserved for three-point drills towards self-examination, forging discipline from vulnerability. Beat. He resolves to publish these pages so that another kid dribbling on a cracked sidewalk might recognize the trap before it snaps shut. The sound of a basketball thumping in an empty gym, once echoing loneliness, now signals resilience. Carroll ends with an image of himself walking home across the city at dawn, sneakers dangling over his shoulder, the Hudson's mist rising like silent applause. Beat. The diary closes, but the pulse of emphasis, hope, keeps drumming beneath the cover.